I'm Kara, and welcome to Soul Inspiring Business. I believe that all of us possess unique gifts and talents that allow us to serve the world and our own growth in the highest possible way. Our lives are an expression of our thoughts, beliefs, and actions. And here, we will explore businesses, thought leaders, and topics designed to inspire, helping propel your own growth so you can live your best and most purposeful life. Welcome to Soul Inspiring Business. Welcome back to the Soul Inspiring Business Podcast. I'm your host, Kara Chaffin Donofrio, and I'm glad you're here. So welcome. If you're a new listener, welcome to the show. This is actually the first time, if you're watching us on video, that we have a new background. And if you have listened to the show and you're a loyal listener, then I appreciate you. And welcome back. So today we're talking about a topic I love to talk about, which is the power to create all that you desire in your life. But what we're really diving into today is more than just your power to create, but what's some of the scientific studies behind that? Because I think sometimes when we hear, this whole visualization thing, what does that mean? Do I really have the ability to create? Like, how does it all work? And I may not have all the answers, but I am going to share just a few studies that I think that are helpful in understanding and giving you the empowering belief that yes, it does. And there is science that backs this up. It's not just like a woo thing that we're talking about. And so I'll reference some of those today as well. But again, this idea of co-creation. So, actually, before we get into that, I'll share with you that I am co-authoring a book. So very exciting. I'll be sharing more details as we get closer to the launch date of it. But the title of it is, because I'm writing a chapter. So there's several of us that are co-authoring this book together called We Lead, Volume 3. It's targeted to women entrepreneurs, although I'm sure there are stories in there that men could relate to as well, but that's its general target. And so my chapter is called The Queen Within, 3 Truths to Reclaiming Your Power in Business. And one of the truths that I talk about is your ability to co-create in every moment. And this idea of that whether you are conscious about what you're creating or unconscious, you're still creating. And what the empowering belief and thought in that is that, wow, we really do have the power to create more of what we want. There has to be an awareness of also what things aren't working and how can I change that, and maybe some deprogramming of deeply held beliefs, because everything that shows up in your life is showing up for you as a mirror to really like the internal programming of what's going on behind the scenes. So, if you've got deeply held beliefs that you're not worthy or that people don't respect you, well, then there are probably going to be situations that continue to come up where people disrespect you. If you have a deeply held belief about money and that you can never have enough, well, then you're probably going to continue to recreate situations, feelings, experiences where you don't have enough money. And so the empowering thing about this is that we have the power to change. It first starts with awareness of what is showing up and what also do I want to create differently. And then the exciting thing to know is that you can create. So you aren't in total you don't have a total lack of control over what shows up in your life. And I should also mention that I really do believe in, when I say co-creating, I mean co-creating with God, because I do think there's an element of here's the things that I desire and then giving it up to the one that knows all and has a better order of how things might come into play for you. Not everybody, I guess, holds that belief, but that's where I come from. And so as it was interesting, earlier today, I interviewed Acacia Walker. She is going to be on the show in the coming weeks, and I'm excited about that. If you don't know who she is the U.S. women's head lacrosse coach for women's lacrosse. So they're going to be going to the World Championships in 2026 in Japan. Very exciting. And we got to interview her on the show. So I can't wait to share that with you. But one of the things that we were talking about and that she mentioned was because she's a big believer in the power of visualization, and that a lot with her athletes, she has taught them and is very big into teaching them visualization and how to use it. And again, this is kind of what we're talking about today. It's about co-creating what you want. And she was saying, sometimes I wish, sometimes people perceive it as so woo, like, does this really work? And she said she sees it work all the time. And, we started talking about, I wish more people knew that they had that power. And one of the books that I've been reading recently is Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. And in there are some really interesting studies that I wanted to share with you because, again, it really speaks to this power that we have. And then not only am I just telling you about this power that you have, but also here's some scientific data and resources that you can go to actually kind of validate more of what we're talking about, right? So I'll share with you this study because this is like mind-boggling. I actually have it written here just so I wouldn't forget the pieces of it. But again, it's this idea that your thoughts, so what you think, creates your reality. And in this experiment, again, Dr. Joe Dispenza had ran this experiment where participants were split into two groups. Now, the first group practiced finger strength exercises every day for a month. So they were physically practicing with their finger exercises. The second group did not move a muscle. They only used their mental mind. So they just imagined the same exercises in vivid detail, and they engaged their minds as if it was actually happening. So they engaged their minds as if it was real. So the results were crazy because the physical group improved their strength by about 30%, but the mental group, no physical movement at all, they also increased their strength by 22%. So very similar results just by using their mind. And that's crazy to me because what it really speaks to is that the brain doesn't necessarily distinguish between what's actually happening in physical reality and what's happening in your mental reality, right? Like what's going on behind the scenes. So when you rehearse your emotions, your future with emotion, with clarity, your brain doesn't necessarily know whether it's happening now or not. You start to increase the brain-body chemistry and create those connections. And your brain and body will begin to believe it's already happening. So that's what's really powerful about this ability to rewire how you think, what's available to you. And that's quantum creation in action, really. Now, they went on to do this other study that was really interesting because they were talking about genetics, and there's a whole twin study that was done as well. And they were kind of talking about, well, do genes impact your future or is it something different? And so in this twin study they realized that, again, the power of mindfulness and meditation triggered physical responses differently. Even though they've got the same genetics in this twin study, they changed body chemistry by mindfulness and these meditation exercises. Also really fascinating because it also speaks to the fact that just because you have a genetic disposition, something doesn't mean you can't change your future or change your reality. And these kinds of studies have been really fascinating to study in people that have been sick and their ability to heal themselves. Because again, the brain and the body chemistry, it doesn't necessarily know whether it's actually happening now or if you're mentally rehearsing it. It doesn't distinguish the difference. So I think, again, why am I telling you this? I really want to help you. I want to help you realize that you have more power than you think, and that you also have the power to change anything that you don't like in your life right now. So it's a pretty awesome thing. And I think one of the big things when we talk about your ability to co-create what you want, the first step is figuring out what you're creating now. So I think if you're like, well, what do I want to create? How do I know what is, what my mental body is doing, right? Just start looking at the situations around you that, and if, for example, if we want to use a business example, then, are clients easily finding you? Do you feel well compensated in your work? Do you find that business flows easily and you just always have enough and a constant stream? Are you, again, money stories come up a lot because so many of us have deeply held beliefs about money. It's a triggering emotion. And so that's one that I think we can also work on a lot too. What do you want your money story to be? And so I think first having awareness on what are some of the things that you can play with as you think about what do I want to create more of. Maybe it's you've got plenty of money, but you need more time with your family, or you need to rewire some of the way that you work, right? So I think the first step is having awareness on what things are working really well and what things might you want to shift and maybe need a shift. So awareness is the first step. And then the second piece that I would say would just be, starting to play with that. So starting to using this knowledge that if people could strengthen their fingers just through mental imagery and through imagining that happening through mental clarity, with emotions, with visualization, then imagine what you could be doing. So what that could look like is it doesn't necessarily have to be meditation, but what I would say is get clear on what it is, the picture of what you want to look like that's different from what it is now. So for example, if you feel like people aren't paying you what you're worth for your work, right? Let's just go there, right? So then start to imagine, and I would spend some time, ideally, the best time to do this, or when we talk about meditation, really what meditation is quieting the mind. So normally you'd want to be in some type of quiet space where you can sort of decrease the mental chatter. That's why sometimes I think meditation works well in the mornings, but it could be any space or time that works for you. And what you want to do is, again, I think close your eyes, because you can kind of then more easily remove the noise and stimuli that's around you. Find a quiet space and start to imagine what it would look like for people to pay you exactly what you're worth, for you to just receive, and imagine people coming to you, imagine people saying to you, oh my gosh, thank you so much for all you did. I'm so glad I get to pay you because you changed my life. Imagine people coming up to you and just handing you money and saying, wow, your work, what you did for me was really life-changing, and I'm so grateful to you. So imagine what those conversations could look like. Imagine literally people handing you money. Imagine you looking at your bank account and just watching it grow in record time and just thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I can't believe how quickly this is changing and also how this works. It's amazing to me. So I want you to literally imagine these types of scenarios. And what you may get as you close your eyes and you kind of try to get into this space, you may see different, people come into play. Maybe it's people you know, maybe it's people you don't know, but pay attention to some of the people that show up in that kind of imagined visualization state. And I would play with it. I'd try playing with it a little bit. Maybe it's like 5 minutes a day. Maybe it's 10 minutes a day. Obviously, I think the longer that you play with it, the the more power it possesses, because what you're really doing is you're rewiring that connection, that brain-body connection, and you're rewiring the circumstances that get to show up for you. So I think obviously the more time you do it, the better. But also, if that feels overwhelming to you, then just pick 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be a big deal, right? And I think what you'll also notice is that your energy shifts when you're in that state. So, and I think when we've talked about affirmations in the past too, as you know, if you've listened to the show, you know affirmations are really big for me. But I think what is important is that when you're going this route, is that if there are pieces of you that as you start to visualize, say, well, that wouldn't happen. Just say, I'm open to understanding better about how this works. So if you start to get some resistance in terms of, well, this couldn't really work or this couldn't be possible, just start to open yourself up to, it's sort of like you may not be ready to open the door full swing, but if you can just crack it open a little bit and then the next day crack it open a little bit more and the next day crack it open a little bit more, it's like you're gradually building that muscle. And I think that that's really, again, the power in what you have to do and what you have the ability to create. And it's baby steps, because some of us can just do that right away, but I don't think that's the majority of us, especially depending on whatever spectrum you're coming from. So I hope today has really opened you up to maybe more of what's possible. You can check out the book, again, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, or even just Google some of these studies. They're really fascinating. There's another one that I'll talk about maybe next week on that kind of breaks down the time continuum. That's really fascinating as well, but one thing at a time. And yeah, I hope you have a beautiful week, and I thank you so much for being part of the show. And please reach out, feel free to any other topics that you're interested in, if there's anything that really hit you. And I love to hear it. I love your feedback, and have a beautiful week. Until next time. Loved being here with you today, and would love to connect with you more over on Instagram. My handle is linked to the show notes, or you can just type in @Kara Chaffin Donofrio. And I have something special for you as a free gift, my Dynamic Life Journal. This special book has the power to really help you live a soul-inspired life. Go to freegiftfromkara.com. Easy to remember, freegiftfromkara.com. Until next time, beautiful people, sending all my love.